Hey everyone, hope you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel's Finding Value. Today we're going to do our daily technical analysis of today's commodities. We'll work our way through the dollar, yields, precious metals, and commodities ETFs that I follow. I'll interject my financial opinions as we go through it, and if you need help with anything, check out finding-value.com. That's where I dive deeper into all of these topics, looking for potential investment opportunities. We do have a discount coupon code still. Discount is the coupon code that is active right now. We also have a question and answer session on Sunday at 5 p.m. Mountain Time. Let's dive in. Let's take a look, see what's going on. We still have a stronger dollar. It is in this rising wedge. This guy here is in this rising wedge. And a lot of the times, not always, but a lot of the times, from a statistical probability, it favors a breakout lower because it's a rising wedge. But if it is an incredibly strong trend, there is the possibility this does break to the upside and run. But right now, it's a rising wedge and they generally break lower. Yields are generally the driver of this relative strength in the dollar. So the 2-year yields ripping higher. Now, when I look at the 2-year yield and the way that this looks, makes me think that the dollar wants to continue up. You can see the squeeze, and I'm sure the dollar exhibits this in that rising wedge. Big bullish engulfing. That looks good to go higher for the 2-year yield. The 10-year yield's already broken to the upside. It's running. Run, Forest, run is what it's doing. Strong as heck. It's got upside momentum. We've broken out of this squeeze of a pattern here, and it is going on up. The 30 year is doing the same thing. Going higher. We do have a little bit of selling pressure here, that wick at the top. A little bit of selling pressure up there, but momentum is up. That's what I'll say. Momentum is up for yields on all time frames. TYX TNX ratio. This ratio looks like it wants to drop or fall on the monthly, or this is weekly. It's a continuation flag pattern where we could drop further of the 30 year divided by the 10 year. That means that the 10 year is going up faster than the 30 year. And this brings this ratio lower. And that's what it looks like it wants to do. Bond prices are down since yields are up on the 20 year, and the momentum is still to the downside. I do not see that turning yet. The 2 and 10, we are inverting the yield curve. So the 2 year was way up in relationship to the 10 year today, causing this to move up 1.2%. Is this a trend reversal, or are we going to continue down invert? It's a big candlestick. I don't know yet. It's not a reversal candlestick. It's close, but we'll see. Gold's up $29 an ounce. It looks like it's trying to break out of this consolidation here to the upside, and got a little bit of selling pressure as we hit that resistance area. That's why that wick exists there. But we're still within the pattern. Silver up about 1%, and that's looking better and better. I did cut this off and kind of just drew it on these lines here, coming on down. So we'll see if it can keep going up. We've got platinum up about $8 an ounce. This thing's doing a lot of squeezing here. I think it looks fantastic. Some people say, oh, it hasn't done anything since, all the way back here. It's like, well, that's true. Why I'm in it. The ratios say this thing's ready to go. It is super cheap compared to history, and we are still trying to break out. Palladium up about 4%, and we're bouncing off support coming out of this falling wedge. It looks good. Looks good to run higher, what I'm seeing here for palladium there. GDX moving sideways, GDXJ sideways, and SILJ down just a teeny bit. We're getting some movement here. This is more of a bearish setup for SILJ. GDXJ And GDX, it's tough to say. We lost momentum throughout the day. Gold and silver look good, but interest rates, historically, interest rates have, and the price of oil going up, has not been tailwinds for gold miners. So we have to see gold start to outpace oil, which I don't know if that will occur. But a little bit of weakness there today there. XTU to gold ratio, a little bit of weakness versus gold. We're back at this super cheap area right up against long-term support, both of this trend line there and this trend line here. So we've got lots of support right where we're at. Crude oil. Now, guys, this is looking good. Crude oil up 3.8% or so. We left a little bit of a wick at the top. Okay, we tried to run this thing all the way up to 78 bucks. We broke out of the downtrend here, this guy there. Now, what does that mean? What does a downtrend line break mean? Well, it means that we've broken the pattern. We are free to move up. Now, that doesn't mean we immediately go up. We could have a couple of small down days. We could do some crap like that. But we've broken out. It looks really good. So expect higher oil prices in the near to intermediate term. TTF gas continuing higher, up 1% in this channel. We've got natural gas in America ripping it, 7.7%. We hit our head on this resistance here, that blue trend line. We hit our head on it right here in December. We pulled on back, did a loop, and now we're trying to attack it again. So we hit selling pressure. We could easily cut through this. I don't know if it's going to be a hot knife through butter or something like that, but I think we've got 10 for a potential chance. And that deals with the ability of natural gas supply to respond, and where the inventory levels eventually end up would determine if we get to 10 or not. But that is a possibility. I'm not saying it's in the bag, but it's a possibility. Our boy XOP, yeah, you know me, up about 1.2%. We're coming up to that big trend line here. That trend line, that white line going across. We've got a gigantic shoulder, head, shoulder. It's an inverted shoulder, head, shoulder. That guy all through there. If we can break, we can go to the motherland. So big patterns produce big moves. Very well could be a big move here. If we do break this last resistance line, there's a line going across here too. Couple of resistance areas. OIH down 0.3%, even though we had pretty strong move in oil. Not exactly sure why we got this selling pressure move today. It's a little bit bearish, I'll be honest. We'll see where this goes and what follow through there is. Newcastle coal futures down 1%. We're coming back to that support level of about 105. We're at 115 at the moment. Profits Uranium Trust still within this big pattern. No real updates there. It still looks a little bit bearish where we could head a little bit lower in the short term. Inverted flag pattern. We've got uranium futures pricing back within the pattern. Looks okay to try to work its way on up eventually. URA getting some selling pressure, down 2.4%. We are still above support. URNM down 2.8% and URNJ down 3.5%. They still look okay because we had monster moves here to the upside and we're just slowly coming on back. Generally, that will turn higher. I do think that the overall markets are having an impact, and interest rates, on uranium. Copper down slightly, but we're up against the upper end of this trend line in the pattern. The pattern is this big boy here. The 3-hump consolidation, and now we're trying to break out, so we'll see if we can break. The copper looking okay, we're just coming up to resistance. COPX down about 0.7%. Does look a little bit bearish, kind of like a flag pattern that we could end up down here. Maybe, we'll see. Iron ore up 1.23, but we're still in this gigantic squeeze of a pattern. There it is. Aluminum up 0.83%, right underneath resistance. Still in the channel. Nickel down slightly, just trading sideways. No real updates there today. This doesn't look too bad. We got a bullish piercing at least showing up on the weekly. Moo, just trading sideways, looking like it's trying to regain some footing here, some support. Yeah, there's some support all through this section there. Emerging markets down 1.7. That's the strength of the dollar and yields. Now, what's coming up next? It's all from the strength of dollar and yields. It's going to hit these in a negative way. All of these sectors. KRE, regional banks, it's going to hit it in a negative sector because they own a bunch of bonds. And they can't do lending and all that other garbage at high rates. TAN's down 3.3%. Same with lithium, down 2.12. And same with REMX, down 1.3. A lot of these are emerging areas that are trying to grow, but they're doing it with debt. They're doing it with borrowing money. And higher interest rates, they don't like it. Baltic Dry Index up 0.3%. It does look like it's trying to go higher. I heard this was up a lot today, but it doesn't show up on this index here. XHB, it looks like it's going to go lower. The interest rates, guys. Interest rates are going to weigh on this thing. It's going to weigh here. Down, down, down until we get lower interest rates for mortgages. Russell 2000 down 2.22%, breaking out of this channel to the downside. The S&P 500 down 1.5%. Why are we selling off? Interest rates. Interest rates going up, the 10-year specifically, when we get around the 5% region, which we're heading towards that area, the market does not like that. So it starts to sell off. And it would rather choose bonds over a overvalued, overvalued and a more speculative environment for the S&P. It's going to sell off when interest rates continue to go up. It's a headwind. NASDAQ too, we could see a sell-off here if rates continue higher. That's what these big red candlesticks indicate. That's distribution. Selling pressure, what distribution is. SMCI, this one still looks good. Falling wedge, breakout, small, still looks good, go higher. NVIDIA down 3%. We'll see if the trend line holds here. We're right on top of it. Bitcoin up about 3%. Some people are touting that we're getting a disconnect between Bitcoin and NASDAQ. We'll see. Ethereum also higher, right at support. That trend line there. But we do have a lot of selling pressure in this circle here. The big red candlesticks are outweighing the green candlesticks. So that generally indicates downward selling pressure. Bitcoin looks a little bit different than Ethereum. And then MicroStrategy, this still looks like it's well poised to go higher here in the short term. This is a bullish formation there in that circle. That looks like it wants to try to go higher. And then the VIX is up 8%, and this is still creeping higher, guys. We could get a run in the VIX where the S&P 500 sells off, and maybe even the NASDAQ. We are sitting on top of these big selling pressure moves here. That was 2020. It consolidates sideways and squeezes into a corner. We break on out, and now we're sitting on top of the pattern, and this could break out again. The volatility and a sell-off. So that's what I've got for today, guys. Give me a thumb up for the content. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the website if you like. Discounts your coupon code. We've got a Sunday question and answer session coming up. If you guys are interested in attending and asking me questions, I've had some people forward me some questions already. I've got them documented, ready to go. Maybe we talk a little bit more about strategy, kind of describing what my strategies are and the limitations around it. We could go into that, and we'll decide that when we do the Q&A session. All right, guys, we'll catch you next time. This is Finding Value.